This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test.
Hello, Internet. How's it going? What's up? Welcome to Dirty Rectangles Online, July 2021. Hi.
Hello.
Hello, hi.
Hello, everyone out there.
The whole gang's here, and we brought the cats. Oh, Liam's
So
camera broke.
many of us are cats.
There were so many cats that Liam's camera broke. Did we just completely lose Liam?
I don't think so.
We
I think it's still
exceeded
here.
we exceeded our monthly cat bandwidth.
We can hear you. We just can't see you.
Yeah, we gotta come. You gotta come back and bring that cat back.
Don't worry about it.
Things are happening.
Oh,
Hi,
you know,
everybody.
I know exactly what it is. My cat is lying on my keyboard. Is what's up?
Of course.
That
Of
damn
course.
kitty.
We're back. Hey, what's up, folks?
What a cat. What a classic cat move, eh? You out there on the internet, have you ever had a cat lay on your keyboard? Let us know. Let us know. Anyways, we're here to check out some video games. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to Dirty Rectangles. We have a very good show lined up for tonight. I am actually super excited for a lot of this. It's actually kind of like, there's a lot of like weird and spooky stuff tonight. It feels kind of like an October show, which is kind of fun. But before we begin, we have some announcements, correct? James?
It's true. You're right. Your powers of ESP is as strong as ever, Derek. From all those X-Files streams. Yes, I'm coming to you live from this terminal that I ripped out of a patrol car to tell you all about what we have going in Toronto this month. There's not actually a ton to report on. Obviously, we're all feeling the weight of the fact that TMAC unfortunately had their space taken away from them down on what street was that on? Lisgar? It's been so long since I've gone to another street in Toronto that I forget the name of all of them now. But it was a great place.
Right? It was off Queen. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
It was a great place. A lot of stuff held there. Obviously, Gamma Space, very similar event and organization to Dirty Rectangles itself was held there, and lots of other great events. Lots of presentations of artists. Obviously, Dames Making Games use that for most of their programming as well. So yeah, we don't have a whole lot of details right now on where a lot of that stuff will be moving to. I know they were calling for help, especially the name of it escapes me right now, but sort of their video, like their film and like video component that they had there. I forget those guys' name, but they were looking for space to just kind of like actually store some of the physical media they had and stuff like that there. But yeah, hopefully they're able to find another space. I mean, Gamma Space ran out of their own space prior, before they ever had TMAC. So I'm sure that Faber.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes.
Faber and Faber, the two of them together will be able to find another space for that stuff, as well as the code that organizes things there. But in lighter news, there are some other exciting gaming stuff going on in Toronto. Let me.
Oh, your mic just cut out, James.
Yeah. Sorry, just.
Totally intentional. Don't worry about it. I want to hear about this good stuff. Oh, we got videos. Oh, wow.
No, wrong. Okay, now it's correct.
Okay.
Hold on. This is probably easier if I just put my mic on push to talk.
We're totally professionals over here.
There we go. All right. So, from the lovely York University, someone is doing their field placement by interviewing people. And one of those people is Anna Kim, who will be interviewing Venba's game designer, Abby. Venba is a narrative game about cooking, made by Visai Studios. So, they will be doing sort of a deep dive into sort of the narrative design of that game, and specifically talking about issues of the intersections of race and gender and class as they're portrayed in games in general in North America. So that will be this Saturday, and I believe it's an online event. But if you just go over to the Hand-Eye Society, they have all the deets there on how to actually sign up for that. And there was one other thing.
I love James' RSS feed.
But I can't remember what it was now.
One other thing.
It's my Columbo impression. Just one more thing.
Thank you for getting that, James.
I can't remember what it is. There's a bunch of games that are coming out. You can see it all in the Hand-Eye Society newsletter. You know where to find it, folks. handeyeSociety.com. Just sort of celebrating some other stuff that's coming out from Toronto creators, specifically some stuff for the Playdate. I mean, look at this. It's got a video and everything. What more do you want? All
Look
right.
at this thing. Look at this thing. It's got a video. It's really all you need, right?
Hold on. Let me switch over to the mainframe here.
It's jumping around between computers.
Or go to worm mode.
James's tech has completely taken over the show at this point. Other big announcements we have going on. Friend of Rectangles / family of Rectangles. Owen Deary has released the game yesterday. Radio Viscera. Where's my thing? I'm gonna put it up again for a hot second. This thing. Go buy this. This thing. That thing. You couldn't hear us when we cut, but I'm gonna cut to it again. This thing. That thing. Go buy this thing. That thing right there. Go buy it. Okay. It's a really badass game. You can find it on Steam. I know it's a shameless plug, but it's also a badass game, and everyone should go buy it.
Truly, like I stayed up till like 3 a.m. like a teenager last night playing it. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Fucking badass. And mad props to Owen for releasing a game. I hope you're sleeping somewhere right now and not just answering emails or on your own Discord or whatever. But yeah, go buy that game. Support your local fucking game devs. That's what it's all about. All right. Do we have any other announcements, James?
That's all I had.
That was it. My mic thing keeps falling.
I can announce how we have a bunch of great guests for our show right now.
Hell yeah. I'm super excited. Shall we roll into things?
Yeah.
100%.
Any other cats in the shot? Any cats nearby before we take off? No?
Well, while we're trying to herd those, we'll have RT Warner up first with some survival horror.
Hell yeah. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our very first presenter of the night, RT Warner. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you tonight? Thanks for having me again.
I am excellent. I know I just said this to you, but I am super excited to see this. I've been sort of following it on Twitter, so I'll just let you get in there.
Awesome. So this is my nameless point-and-click adventure prototype. I don't really... I do apologize for the noise. I don't really have, a whole lot to tell you in terms of what the plan is for it, where it's all going. Just pretty much showing off where we are today. So, this is built with Unity 2020 with HDRP. And this whole grainy retro throwback post-processing effect is one that I wrote for myself and released on my GitHub. So all of the environment here you're seeing is asset store stuff that I've purchased and just sort of kit bashed together into this location here. And it's all running on top of Adventure Creator. That's by another asset store creator named Chris Burton. I bought that quite a long time ago, maybe back in 2017, but never really actually explored what it's capable of until recently. I sort of got inspired back in February by Color Out of Space. I'm just going to mute that audio just to make it a little more tolerable for everyone. Color Out of Space is just a really cool looking sci-fi movie with Nick Cage at his finest. And I've also been pretty inspired by the Haunted PS1 jam, so that's sort of where the look came from. So this is about a month's effort to, put the environment together, set up the lighting, set up all the cameras, get everything back in working order from the first iteration of the project. I sort of put that on hold after I broke it in a way that I found to be too much work to recover from. But it took all of those lessons as the basis to get this up and running the way that I wanted to. In pretty short order. So here's another example of where, we have another one of us sort of going through the same throes of summer. And eventually you're going to be able to, have a conversation with him. His music's really loud. So, at the moment, that's still in development. But if you didn't go and pay the man before, you wouldn't be able to get into your room. You would need your room key. So you can see you still have that, but now the door is unlocked. It's important. Always lock the door when you get home. So the first objective is going to be to cut the racket to allow you to sleep. And that's about as far as I've gotten on the actual gameplay worlds side of things. So I'd like to just show you a little bit of the behind-the-scenes environment now. So this is the Grand Rock Motel environment from the asset store. And it's been rebuilt with HDRP. And I've turned off the gizmos so you can't really see exactly how it's put together here. But this is the long and the short of how this is all built. All of these are individual triggers that you set up with Adventure Creator. It has its own game creator window. And they all have these scripts that call more scripts that you build with the Node Graph tool. So, just for example, the switch camera. we can open the Actionist editor to see how that works. And we just created a node to crossfade to the camera by passing it this camera to switch to parameter. And it just handles all that for you. I really like that kind of tool. It saves a lot of time. So, the other big thing that I'd like to show is the post-processing effect that I wrote for this. So it's called Dither Down. And essentially you can really control the retro nature of your image here. So now if we were to play the game and want it to look really, really bad,
We switched to EGA.
yeah, we can do EGA mode. That was absolutely part of it. You shouldn't, as you can see.
Oh wow.
It is a little bit too few colors.
No, it looks
That's
fine.
what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's good. Good. So
Just need some level design that
exactly,
helps it out.
taking the downsampling down a tech makes it a little bit more viewable when we go there. So I mean, I tend to stick to these settings here. It's a little bit more in line with the look and feel that I'm going for, but I also set it so you can change the various different Bayer filter types. I don't know why anyone ever uses 3x3 Bayer filtering. That's awful. But it was easy. 4x4 and 8x8 are the ones that I like.
Mind if I jump in with a question?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so like, this is obviously super, super reminiscent of the adventure games that we'd see at this time.
Yeah.
The thing that really jumps out to me is the actual camera angles that you're using that have that particular look and feel in the games that we saw then. Like, how was that? Is that something that you experimented a lot with to try to find that right feel, or did you have like a particular influence on that, or was that just like it's like this is what you're going for and you aim for it? How did that work for you?
So I'm heavily influenced by the photography of Gregory Crutzen, which is a massively large frame format photographer. He makes all these sorts of ethereal, depressing human shots. That inspiration came from time I spent pursuing a photography hobby for a number of years. And so I got a lot of exposure to like lenses, camera angles, that sort of thing. So I did spend quite a bit of time iterating on the various different cameras. Each one specifically is placed, and then the framing is done specifically, and then all of the angle of view is set specific to the shot. I had considered using tools like Cinemachine, and in fact, I've had Cinemachine implemented in Adventure Creator and added an integration to the forum. But for the purpose of this, you're absolutely right in the inspiration. It is like King's Quest and Space Quest, Harvester, Phantasmagoria, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm specifically going for fixed camera. I'm going to add a little bit of noise to these. But the intent is very much, static, old school in nature.
That's awesome. I definitely
that's
immediately
really cool.
felt the Phantasmagoria vibes right away. Like even without it being necessarily like just the horror connection, there is a feel to the camera placements as well, which is like it's very cinematic, right? Like the shots are intentional.
Excellent, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy that.
I think we just lost your stream there.
Oh,
The other thing I was going to say
now?
was
There we go.
I appreciated that in the inventory you had a nice big old key. You always got to have a nice big old looking key in a survival horror game, I think. Regardless of the setting, it's got to look like it opens like a jail door in like the Tower of London.
it has to be fundamentally scary. So this is more of a how the sausage is made scene. This is what I started the project with. Actually, this character isn't even the character that I started with. It was the standard Mixamo Xbot. All the animations here are from Mixamo. There's nothing. I have no capacity to animate anything. So all of this has been just integrated per the instructions, but it's a fairly robust system now. And again, one of the real nice things about Adventure Creator and all of these pre-made tools is it really saves a lot of the yak shaving for you. So, as you can see, we've got state being restored for us. This extends to the animator, all of the NPCs, variables. It's all very easy to set up and get working. And to that, so Harvester was a game particularly that I really wanted to play when I was a kid, and now that I'm an adult, it's less impressive than but it's still really inspirational, and I really like a lot of the things that it does. So one of the important parts of that game, to me, is the fact that everyone's a monster except Karen, and you can kill every monster. So that means in this, you have to be able to kill a monster. Well, in our case, our monster is just an innocent nude man. But he's killable. So that was this weekend's work. And yeah, so that is the long and the short of it. That's about a month to get this far. And yeah, I don't really have anything more to show. If you have any questions, I'd love to take them.
That's awesome. So I'd love to see hear a little bit more about where you want to take this a little bit, particularly since you have this really cool setting with the motel. Are you thinking, are you keeping it? I don't even want you to necessarily open things up as far as like spoilers or whatever, but like, are you looking at just keeping it in that one setting, or looking to move around? And yeah, what's your idea with this?
Essentially, I mean, I spent my teenagers and early adult years in Kingston, but I actually grew up outside of the town in a smaller community. So this is sort of the initial prototype of like a larger small town horror story. I do want to incorporate this motel setting in there, and a church, a gas station, various other different locations and characters, but that is perhaps some time away. The only goal for this right now is to complete the motel location, a bunch of gameplay, and sort of... I'm not a writer, so any attempt that I'm creating a story is going to be loose at best. I'm more going for feeling what it makes you, the vibe that it gives you.
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah, it looks really cool. I really like the dithering effect. It kind of like glues everything together in some way.
Excellent, thank you. Well, it is free on my GitHub for anyone to use. It's open source under unlicensed. It's github.com/Ryan T. Warner/ditherdown. And yeah, if you use it in your project, I'd love to hear about it. Or any viewer or anyone, by all means.
Awesome. Well, RT, thank you so much. So you have your GitHub. Where else can people find you?
I'm on Twitter as well at rtwarnerwebdev, and I am on itch.io at rtwarner.itch.io.
Hell yeah. Oh, look at that. We already got links popping up in the chat for you and everything. That Dither Down tool is super cool.
Amazing.
I have to check that out. RT, thank you so much. Let's get some Doritos in the chat for RT. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We will be back very soon with our next presenter. Do not go anywhere.
Bye all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our next presenter of the evening, the one and only Casey McNeil. What's going on, Casey?
Hello, hello.
The
I'm
screen
Casey.
looks amazing. I am super stoked.
Thank you. I'm pretty stoked to present. All right. So, this is a game that I made with Dalton Levy and Connor Grail. We make a bunch of games together usually. Probably making something this week for the Newgrounds Game Jam. You guys should check that out. Check out Newgrounds for the Game Jam. Everyone should join. Anyways, so this is Boba. It's just a kind of a platformer that we made. One day I was just wanting to make a platformer, so I booted up Game Maker and started working on something, and it evolved into whatever this is. All right. So the main idea is like you gotta go get these keys and open doors, just like a regular kind of platformer thing. But there's these bubbles here that kind of warp the environment, and when you enter them, you're safe from like any damage because it stops time. But as you stay in them, the bubble gets smaller, so you're not safe for long. And it gets to be more interesting puzzles where you have to kind of time things properly if you want to get through safely later on in the game. You can also play this game right now on Newgrounds or Itch. I'll post a link to them after, or if I don't know if Dalton's watching, he'll probably post the links too. But there's also another pretty cool thing about this game. We have this whole level editor where you can just make your own levels, and yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's obviously not a well thought out level, but get the idea. There's quite a bit you can do with that, and on top of that, we have a level browser that you can upload the games to the cloud and download them on any version of the game. So you can just pick any of these levels. There's like, I think almost 40 pages of levels now that people have made. Yeah, 39. Pretty sick.
Wow.
So I'll check out some of these ones. These are some ones that I downloaded that I know are good. Dalton made 2 of these.
No, play a random one that might be bad. Let's do
Alright,
that.
I'll play a random one. Let's try that first. Let's see. Uh-oh. Download time. Alright, interesting. Maybe because I'm streaming, my download speed's like just garbage. So I guess we'll have to play one of these.
That's fine.
Oh no, I think I broke it too. Oh no. Alright, technical difficulties. Just gonna restart that. Hopefully.
Now we're cooking with rectangles.
Yep.
Dirty rectangles about it.
Alright. Let's see.
Do 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 do. There we go.
You guys see that?
Yep, we're back.
Alright.
Nice.
Okay. Let's try one of these ones I already have downloaded. That's not gonna break it. This is one that Dalton made when we were still working on the game. Alright, I'm gonna suck at all the levels, so that's... I'm bad at video games, by the way. Yeah. This one's kind of cool. It's not really like a level, but like, if keep an eye on the right there, when I get this key, something cool is gonna happen. Like a lightsaber. Yeah.
Ah, that's fun.
Neat little ways to use the editor.
Man, I love the style in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like CGA except for with like a crazy rainbow shifting palette.
I know, it's so
I
cool.
love it.
Yeah, I don't know like how I decided for this like color scheme thing to happen. I think I just like had a shader that I wrote on Shader Toy, and I was like, I think that'd be cool if that was in a game. So I just like masked every like blue color to this shader that I wrote, and this is what it looks like.
Fantastic.
Kind of looks like the shine of a bubble too. Like if you look at the bubbles there,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
That oily kind of color. So it works out.
That's honestly what I thought it was when I first saw it. I thought
Yeah,
that,
I had
that
no
was the
intention
effect you
for
were
it to
going
be
for.
like that to start with.
Huh.
I'm really bad at the game, by the way. Let's see. Oh, there's also here. We've been working on like a bigger update to the game. Thinking about maybe like releasing on Steam or something. And yeah, we're gonna redo the whole like first chapter of the game, so it's all connected, kind of like Celeste or The End Is Nigh.
Right.
And yeah, so this is one of the like first levels where we started doing that. It's kind of small still, but it's a bigger level than the like one screen levels so far. And we added lighting as well, and these little bounce pads.
Oh yeah.
New things for the future. Pretty cool. You have to get all the keys in this room in a specific order, otherwise you'll like lock yourself out of an area. So you kind of have to like strategically figure things out. If I do this, get this key. Now I can't go back up to the right because it's locked up. I died, but yeah. Anyways.
Did you guys say you put this together for a jam initially?
No, this was like just a little thing. This was
Okay.
like our first non-jam game
Ah.
in a while. And I was just like feeling inspired to make a platformer out of nowhere.
That's
The
awesome.
main game was made in like 2 days, and then the rest, like I've spent like 3 months working on that stupid editor. Biggest mistake of my life.
Stupid. No, it's brilliant.
Oh, great.
Oh my god.
You like never see
I-
indie games with level editors.
There's a
Like-
reason. I thought it was gonna be like a 2-day project. I was originally just gonna have it so you'd copy paste like the level data to your palette, and then you'd load it back in with some like you'd either paste it in or it would like just read it off your clipboard. But there was a ton of issues with the HTML build because I wanted it to run on Newgrounds, and yeah, so we had to scrap that idea entirely. I couldn't figure out another way to get level editing to like save and load and people sharing it other than having to store it on the cloud. So I set up a whole Google Cloud server and all this garbage.
Oh
and
wow.
here we are.
Good on you.
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I don't really know if there's much more to show off.
Have you done a lot of platformers before?
Oh yeah, we
the-
love making platforms.
The controls look super, like I'm not playing it, but it looks super tight.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. We made another big one we made was Volti's Quest. I think that was for Ludum Dare. Yeah, for like a year ago. Another pretty sizable platformer, pretty cool. You play as like a battery. Yeah. We also made another one called Monster Manor, which I'm not a fan of as much, but it's alright. It was more of a chill platformer kind of thing. I like to do like twitchy, like high precision platformers like
Mhm.
this, kind of like Meat Boy or Celeste. I don't really like slow paced games, even though I suck at them. The slow down time effect, that came from inspiration because I was watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure at the time, and there's a lot of time manipulation in that anime. Not to spoil too much, but yeah.
Interesting. So this is on your itch page right now?
Ooh. Yeah. I don't know what I just did there.
Is this free? Are you giving this away for free?
It is currently free, yeah.
That's
There's,
crazy. You should charge
30
people for
people.
this.
Yeah. It was a lot of work.
This is cool.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm glad I put it out for free. We want to expand it to like probably 8 times as big as this
Wow.
and charge for it.
Yeah.
But finding motivation and having a lot of technical issues with my computer lately, but now everything's sorted out, so hopefully we get back on track.
That's awesome. There was a question in the chat. I know you kind of talked over the shader thing a little bit. Do you want to, is there any other fancy visual sort of things that you're doing here that you could talk about?
Oh, there's a lot going on. The shader is basically, it's just like, can I swap over to like showing the game maker
Yeah, do whatever you want, man.
thing? Is that a thing? All right.
Sure.
Stop that.
I'm specifically asking about the lighting effect too.
Yeah, okay. I'll go the lighting effect as well. You see that?
Yep.
All right. So basically, how the lighting works is I have all these like gradients that kind of like overlap each other, and they're using like subtraction blend mode, and then it just all comes together. It kind of looks like a Metaballs, like gooey kind of. Saw the lighting, you know,
Mm.
it looks, and yeah. So I use that, and then where's my shader? Basically, I just map the alpha channel and discard anything and do all this junk recolor things. Yeah, bad at explaining stuff.
That's cool.
So this is how my shader works. I wrote this last night actually because I wanted to show something off cool, do something. Yeah. What else was there? There's the like this is what the game actually looks like when I'm like working on it.
Oh
It's
wow.
pretty eye bleeding. Like the red is black, green is gray, blue is that wild like um the color moving shader thingy.
I kind of love
Yeah.
it.
Pretty great, pretty great.
Like 2-bit graphics.
Yeah. I don't know what else I can really.
So how do you guys
So,
go about like designing your levels?
Usually I just go ham on them. Actually, that's why I made the level editor to begin with, because I wanted Dalton to start like making levels with me. I was getting
Yeah.
burnt out making levels, so I was like, all right, dude, I'm just gonna make a level editor, and you can make levels for me. And yeah, so he made a few levels, and I think like 5 or 10 of them made it into the game.
Nice.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to like update the level editor and get him making more levels, so I don't have to make the rest of the game.
You gonna call out in the chat, Sam? You got some good color Game Boy vibes happening here.
Nice, thank you.
Question from Hanged Man. One thing I loved in limited palette games like this is being able to choose different color palettes. Any chance of that, or doing different changing colors for different areas?
I actually did that, and then I don't think Dalton liked how it looked, so we've kind of shelved it for now. I have to, I think, find some good-looking color schemes to convince. See if I can turn one on. I forget which shader was in. Yeah, probably this one.
Don't break your game on our behalf.
No, please do.
Swap the stream over, and I could probably just share that. Oh, never mind. Here we go. All right. Yeah, so there's technically different color schemes in the game. You guys can see that, right?
Yep.
All right. Oh, it does not work in the lighting area.
Oh, that looks awesome.
It does not work at all. But yeah, does exist technically.
Super cool.
Oh, that's another thing. We had like a Discord server. We still have it actually, and there's this one guy who made like a Mario mod for our game. So it just replaced the main dude with Mario and like the jump sounds and stuff of Mario. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's
First
when you
time
know
I've
you
ever
made
had
it.
someone like mod like you. Yeah. He also made like a level editor, which was pretty sick.
Oh.
Even though there's already one in here.
Love how smooth all the motion is, like the animations and also the effects.
Yeah, thanks. The transition there is actually kind of glitched right now. It's supposed to render like the previous screen, but it right now it just renders white, or I guess purple in this situation, but it was cooler. Some of the people in the community who have made like levels and stuff are way more clever than I am, and have given me a lot of like inspiration as well. Recommend making a level editor just for that, but I also don't recommend it just because it's a pain.
I'm sure you've probably learned some lessons from your experience from it now, right? If you were to tackle that thing again.
Oh, for sure. It'd be easier, but still, I think the whole thing, like, there's no easy way to
Right.
set up any of this stuff.
It's almost like a whole other thing sometimes. Like, the only thing I've found that makes it less rough in the past is just literally having another developer to do the level editor while you work on the game proper.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, I was neglecting the actual, like, main gameplay of it. I stopped at, like, level 24 in the first, like, week or something, and just kept working on this, and I didn't have, like, motivation to continue working on the game because I was too busy and focused on the editor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big problem with small to solo teams where like just so much is spent on tools and the level editor and stuff like that. You have no bandwidth to actually work on the actual game.
Yeah.
After my last game, I made a level editor for me to use, but even that was a lot of work, and like putting in the work to have it be not buggy and like usable by general people would have been like a lot of work.
Yeah, it was easy enough to
nice.
get it like set up to a point where I could use it, but it was pretty terrible if I wanted to like give it to people who are just there to play games. They don't know anything about game dev.
Oh yeah, because you wanted it, to actually be, like user facing or whatever. That's even more.
It's like creating a game within itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only time I ever had a decent level editor for any of my games was when I was working on a game, and then a buddy of mine at the time who like worked at the same job, he like wanted to make levels for it more easily than like doing it in a text editor, and so he ended up just like rolling one up in some Python framework or something like that, like Pygame or something. And then so he just like set to work on making it for himself, and then I was like, oh cool, now we actually have a level editor that I never would have made.
Super cool. So you're saying this is on itch as well as Newgrounds?
Yes, I'll post the links to stuff in the chat.
I put the itch one up a bit earlier. Oh, okay. It's a nasty old wizard.
Oh, it looks like the Newgrounds one is in there too.
But yeah, feel free to repost it.
Here, I'll just post a big block of links. Our Twitters and
just put your mouse in that general direction and start clicking.
Yeah.
Hit one of those.
Will get you to the game.
This is awesome. Casey, this is super cool. Is there any last things you want to show off before we move along here?
I don't think so. I think that's everything I got.
This is so good. I cannot wait to see if you guys actually like double the size of this or like whatever like you were saying. And I super hope that you actually charge for it. this looks legit. Yeah. This is
Thank
cool.
you.
Awesome. Good stuff, Casey. All right, we will be back in just a minute with our next presenter. Don't go anywhere. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our next presenter of the night, Yames. Take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm Yames. I'm gonna be showing you a couple of things I've got going on, some works in progress. I've sort of been skipping around between different projects, developing as sort of like inspiration has struck, or sometimes I'll get positive feedback on something, and I'll be like, I should make this larger or bigger, or I should grow this out more. So originally, I for a Halloween jam for I think in 2018, I put out just a really tiny game that was like a point and click adventure game called Lips Like Vellum or Velum. I still don't know how to pronounce Velum, but Velum is like a soft. It's like a soft palette. But also there's like Vellum, which is like it's like a material or paper that's like it's supposed to be like from a calf that is born, but it hasn't touched the ground yet. So yeah, creepy, but it's sort of like I don't know. The tone is more like Pan's Labyrinthy kind of, where it's like it's dark, but it's not like super scary. So this was like this was like an expansion of Lips Like Velum. And I don't know, a lot of the dialogue and stuff is not I haven't seen it in a long time, so mostly it's a lot of placeholder stuff, but I don't know, I got a little bit far with the graphics, so I just want to show off some of that stuff. So I will start the demo, and this was originally supposed to be a demo that led into a bigger game, but anyway, here we go.
I think it is Vellum, yeah.
So I don't think I ever did a tutorial. Okay, so kind of the game, I think I was, when I made this, I was inspired a lot by the game Cosmology of Kyoto, which is like this CD-ROM game where you sort of just like go around, and there's not like a lot of I don't know, it's sort of like a point and click adventure game. It doesn't have like it's sort of unorthodox, I guess, in a lot of different ways. But there's a lot of like emphasis on meeting characters and talking to them. So in making this little thing, that's like kind of what I wanted to focus on. So, but there are a couple more things. So like you've got an inventory, right? You can pick stuff up, you can use stuff. But then there's also like a there is like a system of like trading and offering things. So like you're in sort of like a supernatural world. You're meeting all these different creatures. You find things, you give them to different creatures. You have 100% blood, as you can see, and that is because that's another thing you can offer too, for like different story purposes, and like I don't know, access to different things. You can give up your blood. And obviously, if you don't have enough blood, I mean, have 0% blood, then it's game over. So you have to ration it. And anyway, let me start moving around here. Oh, and then there's like a talk screen. Like, no one wants to talk to you right now, so nobody is around here. So yeah, you hold down W key, move around, and this was sort of based off of like a really like simple point and click adventure type framework I made again for that game jam that this game was originally inspired by. Yeah, this has been Game Maker. I've gotten a lot better at using Game Maker, but at this time I was pretty like not great at like scripting and stuff. So I think part of the reason why I moved on a little bit from this project, although I'd like to come back to it definitely someday, is because it was just like really. It's hard to make a game like with like data and stuff when you're like, oh, how do I script things? How does the only thing you don't have to do is like an if else loop or whatever. So yeah, there's like some interactions with the world. Take a doll, yes. Received human doll, okay. And then there's like a little bit of an examine thing that's sort of like reminiscent of like it's like a 2D version of a Resident Evil type game. So like you can spin the doll around, right? And then you examine different parts of it, which would be relevant to different plot.
Technical difficulties, but we are back with Yames. Sorry about that. Feel free to take it away from where you were about a minute ago.
Okay, so I think I just started talking about the magic system. So like again, like with this sort of like NPC based like conversations and gifting and item exchange stuff, you get different like spells. I never worked the spell system out as much, but I wanted to like I don't know. I was trying to find a way to make like conversation interesting and like so like a lot of the game would be like based off of talking to folks and by folks I mean like monsters and stuff. So let me find one. Well, again, like this plant, right? So like this is one of like the first things I think I implemented in the game. Search plant.
Oh, sorry, Yames. I think you might have to represent your screen again.
Oh, sure. Is it showing?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, great. So like anyway, yeah, meeting monsters and stuff. Okay, hold on, sorry. But yeah, I like worked a lot on like character like design and animation before. Again, because like I was really enthusiastic at the time. Didn't know scripting that much, but I had like different like summons and NPCs set up. So like I don't know if it's coming through, but like this is just a little like
wow.
animation reel. Yeah, and again, I'd love to come back to this someday, but like I'm sure the code is all a mess. So I will show you my next little working project thing. This one is more current. And let me go to that. So this is a game called Family Vacation. And this is what I'm currently working on. And this is again like a point and click adventure game. There's a lot of emphasis on NPC interaction or like talking to people. Yeah. This is sort of like based off of let me give a little preface to this game before I begin.
What are you using for like the little animated features? Like not so much the screen transitions, but I guess those too. But specifically those trees and the other scene and stuff like that. Are those just like sprites with just like a bunch of frames, or is there something else at work there?
Yeah, it's mostly it's all a bunch of sprites. And just a bunch of like different loading in a bunch of different sprites. All the backgrounds and stuff, that's all sprite based. Yeah. But yeah, let me show you off some of the NPC stuff. Okay. Sorry. Hold on. Let me come back to this.
Yeah, the sprites and the backgrounds, they have a very unique look to them. Is that all just sort of like from like the techniques that you're using to actually create the images, or is there anything more sort of dynamic running?
Oh yeah, no, there's like post processing, definitely like stuff to make it more crunchy. And then I don't know, I like to use a lot of like visual noise for stuff, obviously, as you can probably tell. Yeah, so a lot of it is post processing, but then afterwards it is afterwards it is me going into like Sprite and like doing a lot of like, I don't know, frame by frame animation just to make things noisier. So like together, like it gives a pretty I don't know. I really like to like for like visuals and stuff, I really like to like try to blend the two where it's like you're not sure what's a shader and you're not sure what's like animation. I don't know. I think that's I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I think it gives like an uncanny effect.
Yeah,
so this is ruins of the human temple. And I made a game called Water Womb World, which is like a based around sort of like navigating the ocean floor, and finding like eldritch secrets and stuff. You're looking for the origin of human life. This is a little bit different, but it's like a similar concept. You're moving around sort of like a 3D, pre-3D rendered space. So these are all basically like, rendered, or it's all like a pre-3D rendered environment that you're like scooting around in, right? And I think the sort of the environment that I'm sorry. I wanted to really like give like a sense of place to the environment, because I kind of made this as like a game based around a tool for like sort of like archaeology type thing. So the reason you're down here is because you are sharing. Excuse me. You're researching this temple that you found, and I don't know if and you're kind of like, you're a robot, so you're like going through and scanning stuff, and finding different carvings, right? And when you sort of integrate all the carvings into your system, or your robot brain or whatever, you find carvings that are more or less, some are mysteries and some are sort of more complete, a part of the knowledge you already have about the temple. So you have like a little screen that gives you like, okay, there's a minor punishment that this religion used that you don't have really you don't have any knowledge of. So you have to go around, you have to look at other carvings, and then you have to go and research them. And then it becomes like a little bit of like a matching game where you're like, okay, if there's like a punishment that's based around like redemption, then you have to go and look at other carvings and like scripts and other like poems related to the religion's concept of redemption, and like, okay, what does it mean to be redeemed in this this religion? And like, they were really into like mortification of the flesh. So like, oh wait, there's a way that they can be redeemed where you're like, you live like permanently mortified. And like the whole the thematic thing about like the ruins of the human temple is like, because you're a robot and you're like, you only speak to other robots, you're sort of like trying to find about like it's like body horror, but it's like body horror from like a removed perspective, where it's like, oh, they don't really have bodily feelings because they're robots, and not like humans where we're like minds embodied or whatever. And so yeah, this is I'm a lot farther along with this than I think it looks, maybe because this is going to be a pretty short game. I'm making this for my patrons right now, and then so like this is like a patron edition, and then I'm going to make a probably a fuller version at some point later, or at least take this tool, which is oh sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. So at least I will take this tool and like I don't know, turn it into something else, like make some more sort of pre 3D rendered stuff. So let me show you now that my other thing has come up. Let me show that.
A lot of the scenes to that had almost sort of like an FMV sort of quality to them, or like like early CD-ROM games where you had a lot of just like video clips playing and kind of like arrows and transitions between them.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was really pulling for. Like I remember there's this one I think it was like some sort of FMV game about like exploring a mummy's tomb or something, and you're just like walking around this huge like 3D like pre-rendered like desert environment where it's like everything is like mostly the same, but it's still like, I don't know, you're just like clicking around. And I as a child I definitely felt like the arid hopelessness of the desert or whatever. And yeah. So anyway, this is Family Vacation, which is another game that I am more currently working on. It's based around sort of like, I don't know, it's really heavily inspired by a lot of like Cold War era like declassified documents that were like mostly like disinformation. So like I don't know if you ever like gone and like looked at like CIA declassified documents that talk about like astral projection and stuff like that, and just like I don't know a lot of stuff that they made up or whatever, or maybe they didn't make it up. I don't know. But there were the KGB did it too. They were like trying to like they were doing experimentation with like radio waves to like compel people to do things. But like this is sort of based on around that sort of like crazy Cold War era stuff. And beyond that, yeah, you're coming back here. Again, you were like a researcher, and for this in various intelligence agencies during the Cold War. Cold War's ended. The sort of weird science stuff that they researched got taken to got privatized, and they developed this lab, and then they discovered something weird about and body horror and stuff. But anyway, cutscene here. You wave. So again, like there's this a focus on dialogue and learning stuff, and I don't know. I really tend to like games. I still like action oriented games, but I really feel like I don't know, as I get older, like I really just like more like games about vibes and atmosphere and stuff. And so yeah, I don't know. I think when I make my games, I try to dispense with the notion that like I need anything more exciting other than like the vibe and the story and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I still put puzzles and things, but like I'm more about exploration and sort of discovering stuff rather than I don't know, shooting things. I haven't made a game where you shoot something yet. Maybe someday. But yeah, anyway, so you got again, it's like a point and click adventure game. You got a key, you go into this hut. It was previously locked. You're looking for something that that man sent you off to get. It's a little guy in a bottle. And sort of the lore about the game. I guess this game is like lore and thematics. I guess is like it's all sort of about like the dead hand of history and like how a lot of decisions that we're made as a lot of like I think like the Cold War era sort of ties into like baby boomers and stuff like a lot of the decisions that we are like currently living with were made a long time ago, but we're just like living in the after effects. So like this is sort of like a paranormal take on it, or like a science fiction take, where like the researchers at this facility found a way to sort of like tap into genetic memories, and because of that, they can like do all sorts of things with like flesh and body horror and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give back this. Oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna go give back the bottle ancestor to the old man here, and there's gonna be a cutscene.
It was a good year for bottled Primeval Descendant.
Yes, they're good vintage. So yeah, so we got the key, and there are like multiple endings to this game. So, but most of it is like you're on a main path trying to get to the bottom or the basement of the research facility. But obviously you need to get different things to get there. So like one thing, it's like okay, they're just little tiny I don't know, quests or like mini quests or whatever, but they never really surface to the point where you're like oh, I need have like a GUI pop up that says like get the bird its egg. So but if you look around, you get eggs. The local wildlife has been affected by the research. Give the bird its egg. Please. Yeah. So I'll show a little bit more here. And yeah, there's like a flashlight
Jeez.
mechanic when you like go into different areas. And I'm not gonna engage the dialogue with her. I'm so sick of her, you know, I'm just going to play some music. And she's gone. So like throughout the sort of like, I don't know, in a similar sense to like I guess Velum Children, like you have some like supernatural means to get by different obstacles. One of them is like you have these tapes which are like they're sort of like psychic frequencies that can like mess with living material, and also like I don't know, that's like where the radio waves of the KGP comes in, where it's like I don't know, their study revealed all sorts of things that sound can do. Let's see if there's anything else. But yeah, I don't know. You keep going down deeper into the basement. You meet more and more NPCs. Let me see if I can debug us into. Okay, so I'm gonna debug us into this lab, which is a little bit further on in the game. It's like sort of the next I sort of skipped a section. That's a ghost that is like a combination of a bunch of different genetic memories of people who have died. Okay. This guy died. At some point, you get a tape that like allows you to revive people so that they come back from the dead. I think this is gonna work. Oh. This. All right. Okay. All right. So I have to go back and fix that, but that's a good enough time to end it, I guess, as any. There's more of the game, but I don't want to give away too much. Maybe it's good that didn't work, because anyway. Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
Thanks for everybody if you're taking a look at my games. If you have any questions, again, just let me know. I can talk about them or whatever. Yeah.
This is so awesome. So awesome. Oh my goodness. I love what you were talking about when you're saying like you're just trying to hit like a vibe, right? And that like totally comes across with everything that I'm seeing here. Is just like mood and yeah, I want to jump in on this. So this is just for your Patreons, you were saying?
Yeah. So I'm kind of like figuring out like what to do, like how do I support myself as a game developer or whatever. And Patreon is one way. So I sort of like make early builds of games for patrons, and this one I've been working on for a while now. But I've got some other stuff in the pipe. Ruins of the Human Temple, which is the one that was like in the pre-rendered environment. That's another one that is coming soon. Like that, I've been working. I've made a lot of progress on that this month, and I should have that ready by before the end of this month for my patrons. Yeah, but I mean, I'm also like, I don't know. I'd love to. I've yet to release like a commercial product. So if I could do like that, like I don't know. My original idea was to release like an anthology of games, like smaller games, because I do like smaller games. I think I mean that definitely works well for like the vibes, right? Like you don't the vibes don't die out, or they you don't get sick of them, I guess. If they're smaller games, and yeah, I do like just really compact experiences myself. Like one of my most favorite games that I played kind of sort of recently, or like that came out like within the last couple of years, was Inside, where like you just sit down, you can play through it. It's like 2 or 3 or 4 hours. And again, it's just like very about like vibes and atmosphere and mystery. But yeah, yeah, so that's sort of what I'm planning. I'm still sort of putting the pieces together a little bit. I'm kind of new to game development. Like I dabbled for a couple years, but then like I think when I started with Velum Children, I like sort of started putting more time and attention into learning stuff, like sort of the more correct way, and just working on graphics and stuff too. But before that, I was doing music, and yeah.
Cool.
Well, you certainly have a really strong aesthetic vision for stuff. Yeah, I mean, I saw that tweet that you put on Twitter a little while ago of that joke about making sure that the start button in the game is like the most important feature. You really want to put the most money towards that in the budget.
Yes.
You had the example of one of yours, which I thought was really good. But
yeah,
it's cool to see.
Oh, we were interrupted by a door knock there. James, this is super, super cool. Thank you so much for showing this off. We are going to throw some links in the chat there as well too. Any last things you want to talk about our show before we move on?
No, just thanks so much for having me on. I was really surprised and happy that somebody reached out and was interested in my stuff. So thank you so much. You've been really kind, and yeah, I hope you liked what you saw, and thanks so much again.
Hell yeah, this is awesome. All right, everybody, we will be back with our next presenter. Don't go anywhere.
Doritos in the chat.
Doritos in the chat. ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our next presenter of the evening, the penultimate presenter, Jonah Davidson. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's been a little bit since I've been on. I had intended to show my progress on this earlier, but I've realized that something kind of funny happened. Let me know if I'm too loud or too quiet or whatever. Which is that the last time I showed this was in January. And when I showed it, that was my very first version of it. It was a proof of concept that I had worked on for approximately a day and a half. So after some ups and downs, and I think a month or two break, I'm now on version 35. And also have this swag title screen that actually says the word randomizer on it. So I just want to have this as just a little bit of background music. Let's just let this loop. Sorry, I'm relearning how to use a mouse with a hand that doesn't like to cooperate with me anymore. Okay. So here's a quick reintroduction to this. So Quest 64 is a very cool game from my childhood that I didn't realize was kind of unfinished and maybe kind of bad. But I loved it all the same because it had some really cool ideas, and it seemed kind of unfinished, but I didn't know the difference when I was little. Turns out it was very unfinished. As someone who has dug around in the guts of this game and moved the pieces around to see where they were supposed to fit, they very clearly had to finish this thing and push it out the door, as people have mentioned, because this came out roughly about the same time as Ocarina of Time, and it would not have compared favorably, and it didn't. So I still love this thing, but it's distinctly unfinished. So in January, I talked about how I had learned a little bit about how kind of ROM patching works, how hex hacking works, and a little file format called IPS, which I'm going to explain again today. And I'm just going to show how my progress has gone. So hopefully this is just quiet background music. If it's louder than I think it is, please let me know.
I actually can't hear any music.
Oh, you can't? That's weird. Is it not even playing the audio? Yeah, I'm going to jack up the music for a second. Just because. Can you hear that?
Yet.
Okay, well, that's weird. I was hoping to not have total silence, but oh, right, I'm sharing my screen. I'm not sharing the program. Cool program, Discord. Okay.
I'd like to see you make a program that could share audio. Tough guy.
Just a second. I'm going to try one last thing. Then I'm going to give up, and I'm just going to go on with my presentation.
We all remember the music to Quest 64 anyway, right?
Not many people will.
Quest 64.
That's right. That's about it. Just going to play.
I was assuming it was like, the music they play at the end of Star Wars.
Okay. I give up for now. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to sit here in silence, and I'm going to try to talk fast to break up the quiet a little bit. Okay. Quest 64. It is a game I love. It is a game that's unfinished. And so I decided, sort of, with the little bit of ROM hacking knowledge that I had, that I would sort of try to finish it. Or at the very least, I would try to revive it. I would try to bring it back. And with the help of the community surrounding it, mostly speedrunners and other hardware hackers, we've sort of pieced all of our knowledge together, and we have managed to turn this thing into a Frankenstein, just an incredible, incredible Frankenstein thing. And most of it has centered around, oh yeah, there you go. You could just play that out loud. Most of it is centered around a tool that I built. And so the last time I showed it in January, this tiny window is the tool. It could do one thing, which was mess with the spell data in the game. And it could also unlock all the spells, which is the thing we used for testing purposes. Turns out when you shuffle certain spell properties with other certain spell properties, they're graphically so intensive they crash your N64. So part of this unlocking all the spells was so we could test literally every spell combination to see which ones would break. This is where I needed help, and I was thankful to have it. So that's version 1. This is version 35. It's not finished yet. This is version 35. Marrow is the name of the tool, which is the name of an enemy from the game. And I have created a massive number of settings and options with the help of the people in the community, so you can customize the game to a ridiculous degree. Changing the spells in the game, changing the items, how they're distributed, monsters and stats, and a whole bunch of other things. And so this was the feature set in version 1. And 2 things. This is the feature set in version 35. And all of these weird things that we figured out how to do in this game, which I still believe is way more robust of a game than people might believe, because of almost all the hacking that we've done around in it, it's kind of hard to break. I figured out how to change the game's FOV, which is a thing you probably shouldn't be able to even do on an N64. And it kind of still worked. Sometimes it ran better with a wider FOV. But it was also disorienting, so we just haven't done anything with it. But we learned how to change how all the spells in the game work. When they're unlocked, we've renamed them, and we actually did some hacking to give them longer names. For instance, the way we figured that out was that all of the boss spells in the game have names. You never see the names. They're not written anywhere. You can't cast the boss spells. If you try to, it crashes the game, I think. Or they just do nothing. So what we did was we basically moved all of those names over there into one null character. And then we used all that extra space for recreation and fun. So that gave me the ability to generate names. So I was procedurally generating names from a table that I created, and I'll open that table for you now. Because I figured if I'm going to be messing up spells and mashing them together, why not mash together spell names as well? So for every spell, I picked a prefix and a suffix, and when they are combined with another spell, you get one random prefix and one random suffix. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, but essentially, there's a certain amount of space in the ROM, and if we can figure out how to move things around, if we can figure out how to optimize things, we get to play in that space as much as we want. We changed the level cap. We changed the scaling of various different things, including enemy stats, boss stats, item placement, item drops. I learned how to shuffle all of these by basically collecting all the current in-game data, randomizing it into an array, and then overwriting the game. And then how to randomize it rather than just shuffle it, and make the randomization customizable. No, that's the Unity version. So like you could say, I want to shuffle all the chests in this game. Or you could say, I want to fill all the chests with just the standard kind of progress items. Or I want to fill all the chests in the game with literally everything and possibly brick the game for myself, or sequence break it, or just completely crack it wide open. I want to change what enemy drops are. I did some weighting so that the chest item distribution wouldn't be so bad. In overriding the spell properties, I also figured out a way to guarantee that there's an early healing spell so the game won't be impossible, or nearly impossible. And most of that is just through taking the giant array of spell data, which is just, this stuff all exists in the game. This is the name of a spell as it's written in the game, the hexadecimal address of that spell data in game. That's the binary or the decimal version of that hex address, and then all of this is the spell's data. And I can kind of look at this and see the matrix a little bit. This spell is unlocked at level 1. This spell is level spell type 9, which I think is a standard damaging spell. I don't know what all this is. It does 64, so I think it's 100 binary, or decimal. When it says 64 hexadecimal, it does 64. Sorry, it does 100 damage, or it has 100 attack. And once we learned how to dig around in the ROM and find all that data, we just started taking things apart to try to figure out what they were. Other people figured out how the damage formulas work, and I figured out how these various like 3s and 2s and 1s determine in-game. In-game, the spells are arranged in a spell book where if you press the C buttons on your definitely N64 controller, up is fire, left is rock, and there are different patterns of buttons, directions you can press on your C buttons on your definitely an N64 controller to select different types of magic. So like right and up is restriction level 1, down and down again is water pillar level 2, and you unlock more spells as you level up. So we tried to move the spells around, and we couldn't because the game is a little more robust than we thought. So we just started messing with everything as much as we could. There are several folks in the Discord who figured out how the animation system works. There's still a lot of mysteries. We're still trying to figure out how stat effects and other scaling works, but this thing kind of got out of hand. This thing kind of took over my life for a little bit. Because ultimately, all of these crazy features that we figured out how to do were all in service of this last one, which is progression. So a randomizer, for those of you who aren't familiar, and maybe I should have started with this, is sort of a revival project where you take an old game and you randomize all the elements of it, and you make it into a new game. You make endless new versions of that game. The most famous, well-known randomizer is Zooter, Zelda Ocarina of Time randomizer, which is possible to play because Ocarina of Time is such a robust game that you can essentially shuffle literally all the elements and items in it, and it's still playable, whether through glitches or through carefully selected logic for like the people who made the randomizer said, okay, behind this item, you need to have this item. It's all keys and locks and doors. So they created a logic that allows you to play through the entire game in a crazy backwards order. You can start in different places. You can start with different items. You can use little glitches to get into places you're not supposed to. And that's the basic idea of a randomizer. Part of why that works in Zelda is, or kind of tries to be, an open world game. By default, it's not an open world game, but with glitches and with like playing it in a different order and the things you can do, it's essentially an open world game. I struggled for the longest time to figure out how to take a completely linear game like Quest and randomize that and turn it into a progression randomizer. So every time people play, the progression through the game is different. You take unique paths, you make different decisions. And also, if you're playing against someone else who's playing on the same seed, you're racing or you're just playing together, you have different decisions you can make. You have different ways you can take it. And then I found out about a more recent randomizer that is an impressive piece of work. That is the KH2 randomizer. I call it the KH Tutor. That's literally not a thing that anyone calls it. But Kingdom Hearts 2 is another essentially linear game. There are lots of worlds you can go to, but you mostly, in the actual course of the game, go through them in straightforward order. So what the Kingdom Hearts 2 randomizer team did was they hacked this endgame part of the game to be a series of doors that let you go to any world that you want from the start. And this game, the reason why this works is Kingdom Hearts, like it or not, has an incredibly robust combat system. So you can deep dive into dangerously high-level areas of the game and run in, open some chests, almost die, grab a few things, cheese your way through a boss, and then get murdered, and then go somewhere else. So KH2 randomizer is an open world randomizer. in that you can go literally anywhere, and through hints and through logic and little details in the game, it says, okay, well, there's a lot of chests to check in this area. And I need, say, they picked 3 items that they're like, you need these 3 items to finish the game. So through all those worlds, you deep dive into different places, you see what you can find, you see what fights you can win, you find new abilities and tools and magic and stuff, and you sort of path your way through the game in a completely new and unique way every time. And that was incredibly inspiring, and I thought, okay, maybe I can turn Quest into an open world game. How can I do that? So initially, this is a map from the game's intro that shows like the Quest world. Kelland it's called. And initially I was like, okay, I know how I can do this. I'm going to take all the regions of the game. These are the names of the regions, sort of. And I'm going to shuffle all the entrances and exits to them. And I'm going to rebuild the entire game's world in a new order. It's all familiar. You know how some things connect to each other. But like when you leave one major area, you'll find yourself in a different major area. And that way there'll be like cool different progressions and paths you have to take. And I'll write a whole bunch of logic, and I'll write a ton of code, and I'll carefully scale all the enemies from beginning to end of these new arbitrary map designs using Dijkstra algorithms. And that sounds like a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and I didn't do it. It was just too hard. I still have the idea that down the line I'd love to do something like that, but just taking a game apart and stitching it back together in random order is not quite a randomizer. Because the most important thing about a randomizer is logic. That is, you figure out your way to progress through this new version of the game from beginning to end. And choices, which is that randomizers are notable for being able to be raced or experimented around in. You can make a choice to go into a more dangerous area to see if you can open a few chests and get something important. You can make choices that will save you time or lose you time. And the most important thing I realized in this game is not the regions, it is the gems, or the progression items in the game, which you get over the course of the game. You get them from the bosses, and they unlock shortcuts. They unlock progression. They unlock the ability to go to new regions. And I realized that stitching maps together wasn't going to work, but what I had to play with was these items. So after a bit of experimenting and a lot of discussion and like a month or 2 of just not working on it and thinking about it, I figured out how I could do this, which was I'm going to take these items. I'm going to take this first item, the Earth Orb. To get it, you have to beat the first boss of the first general region of the game. And without that Earth Orb, you can't open the gate that lets you out of the first part of the game. So I said, okay, well, what if I take the Earth Orb and I randomize it to appear literally anywhere in that first part of the game? As soon as you find it, you can run straight for the end of that area. Or you can fight the boss because they give you a lot of EXP. Or you can hunt around for other items that you think might help you later. The next area is super open, so there's several progression items you can get there. You can find the warp items in this game, wings that let you warp to different towns. You can find those early in this progression randomizer. So then you have to decide, okay, I've finished this area and I've moved on to the next. There are these 2 important items that I need to find somewhere. But also I got this item that'll let me skip a whole bunch of the game. So do I want to skip ahead, search around this area where I know there's more items? The whole thing about randomizers is that they offer you interesting choices. And they remix the game in interesting ways. Like trying to figure out how to fight your way through Zelda without a single sword unlocked. Or trying to find your way to beat a boss in Kingdom Hearts when you don't have the one magic that kind of makes it easy to play at a low level, which is Reflect. And deciding, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this, because if I make this choice, if I take this gamble and I find the item I'm looking for, it is going to be incredible. So all of these features in the end were experimental. They were in the service of figuring out how to create progression. Because now I can say, okay, I want your spells to be weird, so you have to take some time to learn about your spells as you go. I want the unlocks to be a little bit different, and I need to be able to control them so that I can, say, have early healing and things like that. I want item placement to be different because I want to distribute all those items in the way that I said. I want to fill the area with all of the items in the game, and then I want to plonk down the special progression items in random locations here and here and here. I want to change useless items and replace them with better items. I want to hack in new items if I can, which is what I'll show you at the end, the latest thing that I did, which is basically the final conclusion to this progression randomizer. It is sort of like adding roguelike elements, as you mentioned in the chat, because it's every run is a new run, every seed is a new seed, and you can change the options as much as you like to customize it. You can change. I added a slider that lets you change enemy stats up and down, and then I added some code to recalculate their EXP to properly account for that. So now you can do like a high risk, high damage run, but you gain tons of EXP, so you can actually keep up with the enemies. But I can also customize the scaling. I can create a game mode for you that turns on, say, this option and that option and this option and that option. And that is a randomizer. That's an actual progression randomizer. That isn't 10 different options you can randomize. It is a game that you can play. And that was the goal from the start with this tool. And also I added some other goofy stuff. Like, I added a bunch of quality of life features. We finished some features that were in the game, but they weren't quite finished. We added some shortcuts that let you skip completely pointless parts of the game. I added the ability to open all those progression locks in the game that turns it just into an open world rush to the end. And then we also did some goofy shit, like randomizing all the text boxes. So when you talk to the horse outside the monastery at the start of the game, it tells you it's a mighty pirate. And all of these things are in service of extending the reach of this game. And in that way, it's become sort of a revival project. And for me, it was a massive learning experience. I went from developing this game in Unity to learning how to code things directly just in Visual Studio myself. I learned WinForms so I could make an actual UI that, thanks to the Unity, congratulations to the Unity UI for driving me away from Unity and into Visual Studio and making this WinForms tool. Someone casually mentioned that it would be cool if I had a reference, and I realized I had all of the game data. So I built a reference for them so that when they're playing their game, whether they're doing a randomizer or whatever, we're hiccuping. Yeah, okay. Whether they're doing a randomizer or whether they're just playing for fun, this is just a list of all the spells in the game. I already have all this data. These are the vanilla spells. These are the monsters, all their stats, all their elements. All this data is built into the game, and I extracted that data, which means I have it all, so I might as well expose it. I needed to learn how to write patches, IPS patches, which I'll mention again. I explained them last time, but I'll cover them pretty quick because I just think it's a cool little thing that is central to this entire idea. And sometimes I just needed to like crank out a patch that changed one thing. So rather than go in and edit the hexadecimal of the ROM itself, I just said, okay, I'll create a patch exporting tool. And then later I'm like, okay, exporting patches kind of sucks. And applying them kind of sucks because you need a separate tool to do it. So I'm like, okay, well, I think if I import the ROM, because it's just a binary file, if I import the ROM into memory and I learn how the patching format works, I could probably just use that same patching data to just edit the ROM directly. Turns out you can. Turns out I did. I built a binary file reader tool so I could read export data from the ROM really quickly. But you just specify hex addresses. And you could do that to any file. It doesn't have to be a ROM file. It could be literally anything on your computer, which was a very cool thing to finally click in my head. So I learned how to do proper file I/O. I learned how to write a DLL file because years ago someone figured out the code for N64 checksums, which if the checksum isn't right, hardware might not run it, certain emulators might not run it. But it was in C. And I don't know C very well, so I had to figure out how to turn C into a C++ file, and then I had to learn how to export that as a DLL so that I could then import it as a DLL into my program. And I had to, yeah, I'm using a DLL that I custom made, which is weird. I'm writing thousands of bits of hexadecimal data, including graphic data now. There is so much data. Here's a sprite of a magnifying glass, by the way. That's what that is. And all of this data is in service of rebalancing enemies and monsters, changing their stats. This is the hexadecimal location of every enemy stat in the game, and all of their stats in vanilla so that I can edit them. Where the items are stored, the names of all the NPCs and chests, all the doors, and this code that has to be applied to unlock them. Making games is really hard, but digging around in someone else's game is not, it's not as hard as I thought it would be, and in some ways it feels a little more rewarding because you don't have to debug it. It's going to be buggy because you're kind of trying to get it to do something it's not supposed to do. So that was my journey with this entire thing. This is version 35. It's available on my itch page. And if you have any interest in playing a weird old game called Quest 64, I highly recommend you play it with some of the quality of life features that we've created, because otherwise you're probably going to have a tough time. The last thing I'm going to mention is I'm just going to show you what IPS patching is, because I mentioned it before, but I'm just going to quickly mention it again. So I'm going to actually hide these for now. So IPS patching is an ancient patching format that was devised by ROM hackers years and years and years ago. And it's the simplest possible file. It's a binary file that you get by comparing two files. An IPS patching tool that creates patches, all it does is it diffs two files. It looks at the hexadecimal in one file, the binary data as hexadecimal, and it looks at it in another file. And you compare those two files and you say, okay, here's the difference. At this address, so 30 bytes into the file, so at this hexadecimal address, which is 30, there's 1 byte that needs to be overwritten, and it needs to be overwritten with 0, 1. Change it from that one. And here you're going to overwrite this with 2 bytes, 1 for ED. So at 42, we write 2 bytes, 14 ED. And at 58, we write 2 bytes, which is 3A hexa. We write that. So an IPS patch, the patching format, and this was what kicked this all off, it turns out an IPS patch is literally just all of this in a row. It's just 1E, 4 digits, 6 digits that are a hexadecimal address, 4 digits that show you how many bytes follow that you're going to write at that hexadecimal address, and then what you write. Address, length, data. Address, length, data. And I realized pretty quickly that I could just stick a bunch of hex together as a string and then export that string as a binary file, and that's a patch. That's a file. That's the entire ballgame. So you can hack around in just about any file, and I highly don't recommend opening random files in a hex editor because you could easily break stuff on your computer, because for all the sophistication and all of Windows 10 trying to hide stuff from you, it still is just binary files all the way down. But if you do want to, there's a really good hex editor called HXD. I highly recommend you get that one, because the other one I was using was from 1999. It's because there's not many people doing this kind of thing. So the last thing I'll leave you with is the final solution to our challenge of how do we balance this game? How do we round out the end game of a randomizer, of a linear game. And that was to give the player more options. At the beginning of the game, here was our solution. At the beginning of the game, you start in this town, Melroad. And in Melroad, and in every town, major town in the game, there is a place you can visit called the Wingsmith, and they will give you wings that let you teleport back to that town. In this town, you get white wings that let you teleport back to Melroad. White wings aren't very useful. And it only just occurred to me that they're not very useful because you start here, and the town's right here, and you never come back. It's extremely low-level area, whatever. So I said, okay, what else can we use those wings for? And what you can do with them is you can take yourself to an extremely late endgame location. This is Shamwood. It's a secret late game area deep in the desert in which you will probably get murdered. It's full of chests and other items. And we were trying to resolve the problem of how do you encourage a player to not just dive into a dungeon if they know it's always the optimal route? How do you get them to like try going different ways? How do you get them to make Hail Mary plays? And it turns out the way is give them more options to gamble with. In this case, if you find the wings to Shamwood earlier, you can skip a huge chunk of the game and get a big pile of items in here. And one of them might be the item that lets you teleport to the last town in the game. You can skip a huge amount of time, but if you use the wings and they put you here, you're stuck in the middle of the desert. And if you're not very high level, well, we'll see what happens because I'm not very high level. I'm just going to try to make my way out. Also, the enemy designs in this game are really good. It's like one of the only areas where they very clearly put in a ton of work. Okay, so I just took about 61 damage. 61 damage. So I'm going to walk up and I'm going to cast Wind Cutter level 2. So I did 1 damage and then I missed twice. And then I got fucking shot by a butterfly. I think I'm back in Melroad. Yeah, okay. I've been having so much fun working on this project, and it's been so cool to see little bits of it come together. And I think this is like, it's been a good object lesson for me, both in terms of diving into learning different types of programming and just getting frustrated enough that I just have to go for it. But also that every project takes a lot of time. There's a lot of little pieces, there's a lot of little moving parts. And I am a person who's extremely guilty of seeing the final project in my head and wanting that to exist now, when in reality, the final project is this. This last step does not exist without literally all of these and the mistakes that I made when making each of them. So that's my lesson for you, if there has to be a lesson, like a Schoolhouse Rock. There has to be some kind of moral at the end. But I went from this to this. All of these options, all these tools because of what I learned. And I highly recommend just digging into systems and seeing what you can do with them and letting them inspire you. Like the games I saw earlier already gave me some inspiration. But I also won't hex hack your games, I promise. Because they're probably really complicated and I don't know how. So this last thing that I've added, that last wing, the last couple options have added this new thing called Lost Keys. And Lost Keys is my progression, my world randomizer. And that'll probably be a break for me from working on this, but I'm looking forward to seeing people try it. So if you want to try this game, get in touch. I'll tell you all about it and I'll tell you which options to pick so you don't have a miserable time. And I hope you enjoy it. And I'm sorry I rambled all over the place, but if you've seen any of my presentations before, you know that's pretty much how it goes.
Woo!
Yo.
I wanna ROM hack a game.
Yeah, no, please, let's talk about it. Okay, it's not easy. I was going to say it's so easy. It's so easy to do it very badly, but it's also very
You just pick a game and go, right? That's pick. And like I suppose if you are someone looking to dabble into this, maybe it's better to choose a popular game.
It is. Pick a game and go. It doesn't have to be a popular game because odds are there's some weird old GameFAQs thread where someone has put up a bunch of GameShark codes for a game, and GameShark codes are just sort of like the same
Interesting.
stuff as IPS patches. They're kind of obfuscated, but they're essentially just a hexadecimal address that you are changing a piece of data at.
Mm-hmm.
So with GameShark codes, with information you find online, with other resources people have out there, you can find some amazing things and you can do some amazing things. And I also love, there's lots of people hacking around in Ocarina of Time. There's people making Super Mario 64 total conversions, whatever. But I love the idea of picking a weird old game you love and just like tweaking it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what it's been.
I love it. So cool.
Yeah.
Jonah, thank you so much for showing this off. If you hack another game, we want to see it. So I assume from here the next one would just be easier, right? Like now that you've figured out tricks and stuff, I guess. But
yeah, kind of. It's like every new game that you dig into is just going to be a different kind of puzzle.
Yeah.
It's figuring out where the data's stored, how it's obfuscated, what numbers mean, and what will break when you change it.
Hopefully spectacularly.
Yeah, of course.
Jonah, thank you so much. Folks, we will be back with our final presenter of the evening. Don't go anywhere. Doritos in the chat for Jonah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our final presenter of the night, Alexander Keene. Take it away.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me, Dirty Rectangles. And hi to anyone out there in cyberspace watching. This is my first time doing one of these, so I'll give you a quick intro. I'm a Sheridan game design student. I'm going in my 4th year, but I spent most of my 20s driving around in a smelly van touring with bands. We'll get back to that. So 3D Mark Game started as a stupid birthday present for one of my best pals. Hi Mark, if you're out there, thanks for letting me punch your face on the internet. We grew up together, so we have like a tendency towards kind of like an antagonistic way of showing affection. So it was his birthday and I was like, how about a game where you just punch Mark to death? That'd be fun, right? So it's like a walking simulator at its core with just a single punch mechanic to progress the level. So here, let's get into it. I'll try and play it while I talk over it. So this is, there's the tutorial level right there. This is the tutorial. So I guess the main point I want to make about why I wanted to show this was that Mark's birthday was like, I don't know, like 3 months ago, and I've just still been picking away at this in my spare time. I feel like the concept is so... Oh, there's voice acting here. Maybe you want to hear this.
All right, listen up, loser. If you ever want to see freedom again, you'll do as we tell you. The target, a guy called Mark. The method, punch. Punch him to fucking death.
Is that audio coming through?
Yeah, it is.
Get to work.
Cool. Yeah, so basically it's an existential walking simulator where a shady government organization forces you to punch your best friend to death and you don't really know why. You're just forced to do it. And I feel like it's kind of like, the reason I want to talk about it is because it's like liberated me to like not give a single shit about what I'm doing. Because it, as you can see, because it was really just meant to be this stupid thing, but that's sort of the joy of it and what has brought me back to working on it so much is because this, I just like
Not bad, Jimmy.
have so much fun
Work is far from over. We brought you to the company.
making it.
Mark's ghost somehow managed to hack them. He's become one with the machines. Once the ghost spreads through the building, there's no stopping it. Punch it all to hell.
Yeah, it's like I kind of wanted to tie it back into like playing in bands and stuff. You know, it's sort of like inspired by that, where you just kind of you have really no idea what you're doing or why you're doing it, but the stakes are so low that it kind of doesn't matter, and it sort of liberates you just to express yourself. And, you know, like I said, I've really only been doing game design for about 3 years, so I'm kind of like learning as I'm making this. It'll be like, oh hey, wouldn't it be great if you enter like the scene from The Matrix where you have to punch all the computers and then Mark is like, this glitchy ghost in the mainframe scene.
Wow. I love this aesthetic here. This is awesome.
As a glitchy ghost in the mainframe myself, I'm somewhat offended by this game.
Yeah.
Well, Barbara. We underestimated you. This road leads you to the last known location of Mark's laboratory. Be warned, the intel suggests a high-risk paranormal bullshit. Take the company cards, punch it all in.
Right. Yeah, like obviously you can do like game jams or something that'll kind of like foster this sort of like quick decision making or like experimental thinking, but I don't know, there's something about like working by myself with like no timeline, and it's just like the stupidest idea. You can just lean into whatever strikes you at the moment. Like we should drive a car for like that goes way too slow for way too long, and I haven't put it in yet, but I really want to make like a radio station that's just like a boring talk radio show while you're driving up the mountain to find Mark's secret laboratory. And just like I'm just like laughing my ass off as I'm making this, and I don't know, maybe I'm like kind of like a game dev noob, and maybe you guys have done this already, but if you haven't, I really recommend just chasing like the stupidest idea you can think of, and just don't think about it. It's like therapeutic for me. I don't know.
This is kind of representative of like pure rectangles content that we like to see, because the things that we're interested in are the exploration of games, like sure as a commercial product, but also as just an exploration, as an artistic expression, and finding this pure joy in yourself. What the fuck am I looking at, buddy?
The lighting's kind of fucked here, and so is the camera. The demon taking a nap on a couch.
Yeah.
There's no voice acting for him, unfortunately. I phoned in the tutorial here because it's kind of... This is the thing, too. It's all so janky, but I'm like, I don't care, because at the end of the day, this was really just meant for my one friend who's constantly like amazed that I could make like Pong, So
yeah, I really like that too. Like just the idea of making a game not to show like the internet or whatever, but just to give to this one person.
Yeah.
It's something that like I used to do a long time ago, and I miss doing that kind of thing.
You should do it again. It's really nice.
Yeah, and it is
taking a bath and like your bad ideas. No one's there to like yell at you if you pee in the water or something,
Yeah, and you're like, I can put this in the game because I know my friend will find it funny, even though like 90% of people wouldn't.
An idea that came to me right away for your slow driving sequence is if you slow it down, you're going pretty fast now. You slow it down a little more. Usually notice that like one of the tires is missing from the car, and it's just like sparks the whole time.
Yeah. So this level's not really done yet. Oh yeah.
Finding my secret lair in this liminal space and shit. That is a mark. A miserable little pile of secrets. What enough? Come at you.
Yeah, so ideally there's going to be like a boss battle where there's finally like, you know, an active mark that you're not just punching, but he'll actually like fight you. And then maybe I don't know, like the collider will drop out and you like plummet into his like actual secret lair. And I don't know, this is the thing. I haven't gotten to that part yet. It's just, this is where we're at.
You feel it
I'm
out
just
when
having
you
a lot
get
of
there.
fun, like leaning into like, you know, these stupid like post-processing effects, and I do all like the music and stuff. I get really distracted by like working in Fmod and just like making fun transitions for music and sound effects and all the voice acting and stuff. Anyway, that's pretty much all I could show you. Go back to the title here.
This is so cool. You can see the because like I also, when I make games, I have a similar approach where I just like go with what I feel like going with in that moment kind of thing, and if it ends up being shit and I throw it out and whatever, then that's fine. And like I also come from music, and I see that a lot as like just picking up like a keyboard or like a guitar and just jamming around for a little bit, and then you put that guitar away, and you know, maybe it becomes something or maybe it doesn't, but it's just the act of playing, right, is kind of like
Totally.
what a lot of this
Definitely,
is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I said, especially for me being like, you know, only a couple years new to game design, like I'm really more a musician, so like just by making this, you know, ridiculous non-game, like it's, you know, certainly not a commercial product, like you said. But like I don't know, like I was like, we got to make a car mechanic, so I guess I got to learn how to make a car. And there's like so many little things where we're like, oh, I want to do this, how do I do that? And then you spend an hour just diving into forums or whatever the hell, YouTube tutorials and stuff, and then you just kind of take it one thing at a time, and I don't know. It's cool. You're like simultaneously in your comfort zone and like learning new stuff at the same time. I don't know. Improvisational game design. You should try it if you haven't yet. It's been pretty cool for me.
Hell yeah.
It's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to think about too. Just sort of like exploring the space of like the ratio between like wideness of an audience for something compared to like your personal connection to that audience as well.
Yeah.
Like so many games that we make where like, oh, I want this to reach a really wide audience and like a lot of people that experience this or whatever. But then like so many of those people, you have very, very small connection to them, you know what I mean? Like they're gonna like put a Steam review on your game saying it was cool, or that, you know, this person doesn't know what they're doing, this isn't what a CRT monitor really looked like or whatever. And it's like, it's so much more interesting to make like a really personal game like this, like literally just for one other person that you actually know and like share, you know, liminal space with and like actually talk to.
Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had to show and talk about. It's pretty short and sweet, but I mean, if anyone's watching this and wants to play this, like I should probably finish it up soon, because I'll just make like 1,000 levels if I don't stop. So I'll probably, I'll like put it up on itch or something when it's done, if you want to play 3D Mark game and step into the shoes of someone who needs to punch my best friend to death.
Whose fist is that?
That's mine. It's just like a cell phone
Nice.
picture of my fist, and I just like removed just like photoshopped it.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much everything, like all the audio and the sound effects are done by me. And actually, I should give a shout out to our buddy Jesse. He did a couple of the voice acting for Mark's like death sequences and stuff. And otherwise, like, I don't know, I'm not very good at like 3D modeling or anything like that. So a lot of it's just like basic, you know, like it's just making materials and using post-processing, and then like Mixamo and just free assets and stuff.
It's got a style, man. Like, you might say you're not very good at it, but like it's got a striking style for sure.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
That's cool.
I'll show that. That's it for me.
Man,
I don't know if there's any questions.
I don't think any questions came up. Everyone's just like, holy shit, this is crazy.
DQ was asking, although I think you sort of answered this, but I don't know, maybe you have some other thoughts on it. Do you feel like you get access to more creativity when the stakes are low in a situation like this?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like I feel like that peeing in the bathtub analogy really hits the nail on the head. It's like you can do whatever you want if you screw up and whatever. But for me, that I don't know that. Yeah, that's definitely how I strike gold. Is when there's like absolutely, like playing guitar in my underwear alone on a Sunday morning or something when no one's listening, like stuff like that. Where it's just like nothing can go wrong. So you really like feel like you like tap into yourself in a way that you wouldn't otherwise.
I'm always saying that I do all of my best peeing in the shower, but people don't believe me.
I'm just saying that my Professor Andrew's in here. Hi, Andrew.
It's all pipes.
Andrew taught me to plan. I listen to what you taught me. Don't worry.
That's awesome. Alexander, thank you so much for showing this off.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to start wrapping up the show here. You don't have to jump away if you don't want, but everyone else is going to come off camera as we do. There we go. There we go. There's everybody. Everybody's beautiful faces. Ah, what a good show. Did everybody have a good time?
100%.
Yeah? Excellent.
Classic rectangles.
My web camera broke halfway through, so I have to use this other web camera over here. Now everything looks funny. But
rectangles, unless everything breaks.
Exactly. Let's get some cats out. Alexander, do you have any cats?
I can get you.
No, I used to have a cat called Terminator, but she moved.
Aw, that's a good name. Kizia, are you grabbing Yuffie there?
I'm trying to grab Yuffie here.
Okay. Cool. Keys is looking for Yuffie. I'm clicking some buttons, getting ready for the outro. Folks, this has been an excellent Dirty Rectangles. Thank you all for joining us. If you missed anything, this will all be recorded on Twitch and up there in a few hours, and then also backloaded on YouTube sometime tomorrow. Where is he? Was he in the box?
Yeah, she's in the box.
Aww.
Classic cat.
Cat in a box. That never happens.
People just have to take our word for it. There is a cat in that box. If you want to get on this show, you can reach out to us on Twitter, twitter.com/dirtyrectangles or twitter.com/rectangles_TO, or you can find us on our Discord, dirty-rectangles.com/discord. You can find us there. What else do we have? What other links are there? There's also shows. We're doing shows. James is doing a show right now. If you want to watch some Adventures of Lolo, he's been doing some puzzling. Right, James?
It's good. When I do it, it looks like this.
Oh, look at you.
Except my scene isn't set up right, so it doesn't look like this. But
something like that. And I've been doing some drumming. So there's some shows happening. dirtyrectangles.com/TV. Check that all out. Otherwise, we'll be back next month. Anybody got some final words of wisdom for the audience?
The one thing is that we might not be back next month. We're figuring that out.
Oh, right.
Traditionally.
It's August next month. Traditionally, we do an outdoor barbecue with like a lot of people. We never had the chance to do anything like that in Toronto because pandemic. You heard about it. So the traditionally the Ottawa barbecue would be happening in August, and then special Toronto thing will be happening also in August. But we can't do gatherings of people right now for reasons you understand. So maybe something special next month. Maybe we do a regular Dirty Rectangles. Not committing to anything.
Liam's out here not writing checks.
Communal cough that we normally do.
There might be barbecues related.
We'll figure something out. It will be great.
Yeah.
There will be food and there will be games, and it might be digital. We'll figure it out, folks.
Play
this
some
has
Radio
been
Viscera.
Is that Eric McQuiggan?
Yeah. Yes.
Eric McQuiggan dropping a bomb.
Classic late running.
Making an appearance.
Making a quick appearance. Tell everyone to go buy Radio Viscera. This game right here. That game. Go buy that game. You really want that game. Go get it.
Really good.
Go get it.
Really good.
Cool. I think we've done our piece now. Owen can cut us our check. All right, folks. It's been real. We'll see you next month. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for everything.